So here's the deal for Morels in Virginia. 3 trees. Poplar, tulip poplars. You can see these guys here, they have the smooth bark with the white spots on it. It's a great tree. Now that's not one. This is a poplar right here. Poplars get a little tulip on them. It's a flower and they'll fall down and you'll see them. They're like red and yellow and tan in color when they fall off. So tulip poplars are the main tree. Elm trees are the other tree, but the thing with elms is there's not very many anymore. So dying elms is about what you find these days. I have a big elm over here in my field that never got sick. It's in great shape. And then apple trees. The apple orchards always have them. And that's the 3 trees in Virginia. But so what we're looking for in the early part of the year is where the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Right? So that sunlight is going to be hitting certain areas first in the year, so it'll be warmer there, and that's where you start. So we always look on the southern and eastern exposures of hillsides to start. This hillside's kind of northern exposure, but because of the way the sun comes across here and hits down in here, we get plenty of sun. You see what I'm saying though? It's southern exposure up on the yard, but we're going down this hillside, so it's not getting much sunlight. So what I do is I stick to the areas that are getting the sun. So looking over here, you see all the sunlight over there? That's where the morels are going to start. They're going to go where the soil temperatures are warm first. So they like about 50 to 52 degrees, somewhere in there, ground temperatures to make a fruit set. We're right at that right now. We're right at 52 degrees right now. And so what I do is I do soil temperatures. I'll check with a soil thermometer about 4 or 5 inches down, and when I'm at 50 to 52 degrees, then I know this is morels are ready to go. Another indicator is when you start seeing these little leaves on the poplar trees. Some of the old wives' tales say that when dandelions finish their flower and make their seed head, when that first seed head happens, that's about the same time that the morels will start popping. And morels get all the hype. They're the first big forage mushroom for the year, but there's other mushrooms that are, in my opinion, just as good to find this time of year. And one of them's dryad saddle. It tastes like melon. If you cook it, saute it right, it's like warm melon in a plate, and I love it with pasta. Morels, I rarely eat them. I usually sell them if I find them. So what you do is we'll hug the areas where we see the sunlight hitting, look across the ground. Children always do a better job of morel hunting than anyone else because they're closer to the ground. I love it when kids are on the hunts. So because of that, every once in a while I'll get down and I give a view. Every 10 or 15 steps I'll stop and look around. And I'll do it in both directions because mushrooms, just because they there's all these things that we indicators that they're ready. Mushrooms don't follow anybody's rule book. They kind of happen when they want to, where they want to. So you always want to walk where you've walked. You want to stop and turn around. If you find one morel, usually if you stop and look around, you'll realize you've been walking over them already. You're just not seeing them. So another thing, in the spring, early spring, when there's not a lot of green and a lot of vines and stuff, you can indicate, it's easier to find and identify other trees and plants that are going to be making forage food in the year. And like, so right there, see this one with the cubic bark? Big tall seat guy right there? That's a persimmon tree. And it drops wild persimmons. Wild persimmons will drop in about September, October. And when they drop, they taste like little sugar bombs. They're delicious. Wow. If you get them before they're fully ripe, they're extremely astringent and they're not so pleasant. But if you get them when they hit the ground, usually the ones that hit on the ground, you squeeze them a little bit. Those are always pretty good. I still, though, just taste a little teeny piece first before I put a whole thing in my mouth. Because there's nothing worse than one of those really astringent ones that dry your mouth out pretty bad. And like rose bushes too. For us, you see the wild rose over there. For Elizabeth and I, we start looking for our rose bushes now. We've only been here 2 years now, and this going on our 3rd year. And so we're still finding what's forageable here, but we use rose hips in one of our teas. So right now, this is an easy time to walk through the woods. Everything's not thick and full of leaves, so you can kind of identify all the edible plants as well, and stuff you're gonna be using down the road. Springtime's kind of like recon for foraging for the whole year. Now, what we don't have here very much is, you see the ferns, everybody's looking for fiddlehead ferns. That's not a fiddlehead. They're usually a little higher elevation. Same with ramps. Although I know of a couple of exceptions, typically you're going to be finding those up in the mountains.
What other kind of wild edibles would you find in the spring?
In the spring, right now, here's one. Wild garlic. Anything that smells like an onion, these haven't set big fruit sets yet, but they're in there. Anything you find that smells like an onion is edible. So right now, this is one thing we're finding. That's wild garlic. Chickweed's out. Let's see. Cleavers are out. Red dead nettle. What we'll do is on the way back when we come down my driveway, on the edge of the road, all down through there's tons of wild edible plants that grow down through there, and we'll identify some of those. Like plantains are starting to happen. There's 2 different kinds of plantains. There's a broadleaf and a narrow leaf. The broadleaf, both of them are pretty bitter. I don't like eating them very much, but I like to find the narrow leaves where they are, because if I get a bee sting, I like to chew it, make a spit poultice, and put it on my bee sting, and it takes the pain and the itch away for good right away. Yeah,
that's a cool thing.
It's quick and effective. So, and horseflies also. And for some reason, horseflies seek me out. So I'm always on a mission to make sure. Let me see something here. There's a mushroom that grows right here, and it hadn't happened yet, called umbulatus. I think this is where the stump was that it was coming. And it grows right in this little area right here. Every time I walk through here, I'm looking for it. Last year it happened right about now. We've got 5 big mushrooms. It's my favorite one to eat. Very favorite mushroom. So we always want to look really good at this patch when we walk by.
What does it look like?
I'll show you a picture. It's closely related to the hen of the woods mushroom.
Okay, yeah.
It looks sort of like it. Instead of having the leaves or whatever, the branching that comes out, it has little teeny umbrella-looking gray umbrellas that are polypore. Thousands of little mushrooms on them. They're just delicious. They're very delicate. The flavor's unbelievable, and they look beautiful in food. So it's nice and wet down in here, and we still see how the sun's been hitting on that hillside. We'll hit some of that too. Let's actually walk over there, because that's getting more light than over here. I like these kind of settings because all that moisture is getting whipped up into the mushrooms, and you know when you see the pictures of the big old huge ones that look like bigger than a beer bottle, those are typically found in places like this where there's just tons of moisture and they can just bring on the water. Mushrooms are sponges, and they're really good at accessing and using water.
So water is a big key for morels?
Oh yeah, for any mushroom.
So it's usually, so you would say like lots of rain and then followed by a warm up is kind of like how we've had here? Or?
Exactly. It's prime season. It's the time of year, early April. The soil temperature is probably the biggest thing. I think my personal 50 years of observation. I'm 56 now. 50 years though of kind of knowing about morels and hunting for them. One of the things that I've noticed about them is that ground temperatures are key. Trees are key. and moisture. If we had a really cold winter with lots of snow, I also find that we have better fruit sets in the early spring. If we have a mild winter, it's typically not that good, but I can think of an exception 5 years ago when it really never got that cold all winter. It rained every other day, it seemed like, and we had one of the best fruitings. I was living at Tuckahoe Plantation then, and I found patches with 30 and 40 of them, which is kind of unusual. Usually you find 10 or 15 of them and you're just really excited. But this was like, it was epic. I think there's a video of some of it on my Instagram page. I started filming. Every time I'd find one, I'd take a picture of me with it. And I started counting, and finally it was just so many, I quit doing it. But you can see how easy it'd be to collect some onions.
Oh yeah.
And I'm surprised when I see these cleaver now. Oh, here's another thing. We'll look for these too. Greenbriars. You know what Greenbriar is? The vine. No. Greenbriar is the vine in the woods. It's got the stickers on it. It's like the bane to every woodman's existence and hunter. It's like, this is, if you're gonna get scratched or in the woods, it's gonna be from walking through and getting one of these guys. The beautiful thing about them, though, is they shoot off these little tendrils that roll off, and they're very tender. The leaves, the stickers themselves, and the stem are all edible. They sort of taste like, to me, sort of like a cross between green, maybe like green peas and sort of like corn too, a cross between that.
That's cool.
And they're delicious and they're everywhere. And,
huh.
I've sold them to restaurants for years. I get $20 a pound for them. Restaurants go crazy for them.
So is this wild garlic also?
Yeah, that is.
So just like a more mature plant than those?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Exactly. There are wild onions and wild garlics in here. I think that wild garlic is more accurate. You hear people say, but here's another edible. Violets. The flowers are edible, and they're kind of sweet and delicious. You can always tell them they've got a heart-shaped leaf. See the heart-shaped leaf? You don't need any part but the flower, and they're beautiful in salads. This with those with the Greenbriar tendrils is actually just a really beautiful kind of like decorative condiment for a salad that we love to use. And now that you see them, you start looking around, you'll see the little purple here and there. It's not that hard to collect enough of them. Huh. And so what we'll do sometimes is we'll collect 5 or 6 different edible wild plants, and we'll make a salad with just those. I'm planning on doing a big one for this big group hunt I got this Saturday. You can also use a lot of this stuff to make pestos.
Yeah.
I'd say we stay on this side because it really is getting all the sunlight down through here. And this is prime morel mushroom ecosystem or environment. This is what they want right here. You got this good, some pretty decent sized poplar trees that have some age to them, lots of dampness, and you're getting the sunlight, early morning sun, so you can see the sun's going to go across here all day. It heats the soil up all day long. And this is going to be your first areas, these kind of areas are your first best bet to find them. See if we can find some cleavers down in here. So the violets are everywhere, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to try that sometime.
I'm going to find you some Greenbriar tendrils. I saw some forming up on the top of the hill. I look for them every day because they have value to me. Restaurants, one chef told me it was the sexiest thing he ever put on a salad.
Yeah, I mean,
they're beautiful.
These are like kind of like the cool ingredients that people don't get to taste very often.
Exactly.
And most bow hunters are going to be in the spring, out in the woods all spring, turkey hunting, and we walk right by this stuff, and I would never even think to pop it in my mouth.
Here's something else here. This is Spicebush. Smell it's citrusy, kind of lemony citrusy.
Yeah.
You make tea with it, so it's a really interesting plant. You can take the stems, and you break them into little pieces. Get about a big fat tablespoonful of them. Boil water, 1 spoonful of these with a cup of water. It makes a delicious tea. The American Indians used it and as a spice in pretty much all of their foods. And the females produce a berry, a little red berry, in the fall that has it has 2 different flavor profiles. The skin itself is kind of sweet, the red skin, so they use that as one spice, and then the seed head in the middle is kind of peppery, and they use that as another spice. So it had one seed made 2 different spices, and then they use the leaves in salads, and you can use these in salads. They're great.
Oh, really?
It gives really good flavor to it, and the smell is delicious. But we make tea with that. I'm making a big pitch of that also.
It's better than kale.
What's that?
It tastes better than kale.
Yeah, exactly. Everything tastes like kale during the season.
Gotcha.
Big gold ones over there. Oh, see the red buds blooming over there?
Uh-huh.
Red bud flowers are edible also.
Okay, cool.
And they're pretty on salads.
Huh.
You can get a lot of flowers right now are edible that you can work into. For your own personal, it's not for me as a forager that sells to restaurants and at markets and whatnot. Can't really put a lot of effort in collecting flowers to sell. Wildflowers, I barely can collect enough in one outing for myself at the end of the day. But it's easy. There's enough out there for each individual to go out and get. Here's something. Let's see. Find some birch trees down here. This is the time of year you want to tap your birches for birch. You ever heard of birch syrup?
I haven't.
It's like maple syrup.
Uh-huh.
You can tap the tree. You get about a gallon a day, and I think it takes 60 gallons cooked down to make 1 gallon of syrup. But it's delicious. I had planned on doing a class on collecting birch. And that's what, I guess birch water, that's what you would call it, this year, but there's just too much going on.
Is there a particular type of birch or just any?
Pretty much any of them. When I do it, I don't usually make the syrup. In all honesty, usually what I do is I'll tap the tree. I set it so it can fill up a water bottle during the course of the day, and I usually just drink the water. Yeah. And it's awesome. Yeah. So here's more Spicebush.
I've done the same thing with maple trees, just drinking maple water.
Yeah, maple water is great, and it's a great survival technique to get good clean. If you're in a place that's just got creeks,
electrolytes and everything.
Totally. If you're in a place where it's just got creeks and you can't make fire for some reason, but you need water, maples are great for that, and any maple will kick out water. Many trees do. You know, walnuts. You can get walnut trees make a syrup when you cook it down. There's tons of.
Probably one of the biggest concerns I think people have about going out looking for their own mushrooms and wild edibles is, eating something that they're not supposed to.
Exactly.
Is there anything that's poisonous that looks like a morel?
Yeah, false morel. But it doesn't really look like it. Once you can get yourselves around what a morel looks like, I don't see how people make the mistake. It's just starting to make frond, but here's the Greenbriar. These are tender and delicious and edible. You want to try that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just break the tip off and try it, and you see what I mean. It's kind of sweet, kind of like raw corn or sweet pea.
Yeah,
it's really good, and they get huge.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is you get the leaves. They're really beautiful lime green. And the stickers themselves are also soft, and you can eat them too. So it's just that whole thorn. It's really it's intriguing on food. It's just beautiful. Here's some cleavers. Here's another edible. Cleavers sticks to your. That's how you can identify it. It always will stick to you. So you steam it down, or you can. And you want to get the soft tender parts up in the top, or you can make a really good pesto with it by just raw, but you want to blend it up really good when you do. Cleavers are actually very good for you too. It's all about developing your search image. for different. So each time, like we saw violets, now I see violets everywhere.
I see spicebush everywhere.
Yeah, you'll
just,
and
yeah,
you realize
everywhere.
how easy it is. That's the beautiful thing about foraging. It's not that hard to learn. You have to really dedicate yourself to it because you don't want to misidentify plants or mushrooms. You don't want to misidentify. You can get yourself sick or killed. But once you get it and you start looking around, you realize you're surrounded by food. Yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. I got a lot of special forces guys from all branches of the military this year that did a lot of winter foraging with me. And they all said the same thing. The neatest thing about it was that they didn't realize how much food was actually around them all the time. This is a birch tree. These little tendrils that are just starting to come out, these are the baby leaves. Still a little bit early for them, but they're also edible. Or beech, not birch, beech trees. So
probably like the safest thing to forage for is wild garlic or onions or ramps.
Oh, sure.
Oniony, garlicky things.
Anything, yeah. Those are the easiest to identify, I guess. But like cleaver, you'll see they're everywhere, and this is a very nutritious plant, and I mean it is literally everywhere right now. And you want to get it in the early spring because that's when it's the tenderest and the best. The American Indians called this time of year the starving season. It's like they've eaten all of their food that they saved for the winter, and it was the starving season. And then all of a sudden, spring happened, and everything starts coming back like this. Food's everywhere right now. A couple of weeks ago, though, you couldn't hardly find anything out here.
Yeah. Here's one of those.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So.
So how long do you steam these for?
Just enough time to get that. Rub them like this, and you'll feel how that is when you come.
Yeah.
You want to cook it until that's gone.
Gotcha.
You don't want that chewing on that's not pleasant.
Gotcha. Yeah. God, it's beautiful out today.
It really is. What a great morning. You grind it up and you make a tea out of it. It's so good for your immune system. It's not even fun. The tree that it's growing on is a locust tree. This is a dead locust, and this is called a locust conch. And you dry this and you grind it into a powder, and you put about a tablespoon of it and steep it for 10 minutes in hot water with like maybe some mint or something for flavor. And it's really powerful medicine.
Interesting. So what's the best way to identify this?
This tree.
It's just it grows on a dead black locust or any
locust.
Okay.
It's the only mushroom that I've ever seen grow on a locust tree. So it's what degrades locust trees. Any dead spot, you'll find it on them. Slightly sweet. Almost it just has a really nice flavor.
What is this called again?
Redbud trees. Look how they grow out in clusters right off of the tree like that. These are delicious. This is edible. This is called red dead nettle.
Okay. I've seen that before.
This is really good too. We make a pesto out of this. And here's the chickweed. It's everywhere. This is one of the most nutritious plants on planet Earth, and everyone just thinks of it as weed. It also has tons of flavor.